Uh, Good movie, Fred McMurray, with little Kurt Russell, and I was a Boy Scout, and I remember being one of three Boy Scouts pulling on a rope, trying to, and Kurt Russell was trying to save him in the first place. So that was a big debut. It was on the screen for maybe 10 seconds or so, and then believe it or not, I mean, all kidding aside, I did do a lot of commercials in the day when I was sort of a teenager-ish, and those are fun. Those are fun to revisit. But I always had sort of an idea of being an actor or maybe being a musician, and I'm lucky that I chose what I think is a more logical choice for me, which was music, and so that's what I did when I was in college, and the rest is sort of a historic journey for me.
Now, Iris would like to know what is your favorite instrument to compose with and why?
Well, that's a great question, Iris. I would say that these days I compose mainly on the keyboard, on the synthesizer, and I'm going to take you into my room in a little while, and you can see sort of my world and what that's about. But these days I play on a keyboard, and I perform every instrument, everything you hear eventually in the orchestra. I play in myself, be it flutes or violins or cellos, etc. So I play in the keyboard, and when I'm playing the virtual copy of what the real instrument will be. Um, so I've got the whole orchestra at my fingertips. And if I were to extrapolate from your question, I'd say some of my favorite instruments are the cello. Um, I love solo cello. I love ethnic instruments like the duck, which I used a lot on Passion of the Christ. I love sort of a lot of world instruments in that regard, and also I love, of course, in the orchestra, I love the oboe and
So
the
speaking of
horn.
instruments, should I grab the little what do you have here?
No, I don't know if we want to really. Well, you could grab it.
Right.
Ray's going to grab a little instrument that I used on Predator, and
It's an interesting shape.
this is called this is called a Tibetan. Well, it's part of. I hear people laughing in the other room. This is actually a very cool instrument, and it's made out of a horn of some kind. And you play it sort of like this. However, someone pointed out to me that it looks very nice like this. So, anyway, that you brought it up. Sorry for you viewers out there. Sorry about
It's an actual instrument, so.
that. It is, and we used it on the score, and it makes a very unique primitive sound. And all kidding aside, it's why it's here.
Now, lately you've been using a lot of guitar on your scores, and you've been playing a lot of guitar.
I have.
With Predators, was there a guitar used much?
You know what? There were about 4 or 5 cues that you're going to hear a lot of guitar, which was a lot of fun for me because one of the joys for me has been, especially from Iron Man and now Predators, is the fact that I'm able to pull out the guitars. That's my first instrument. So pull that out, plug it in with all these wonderful amplifiers that I'll show you later. It's been really fun, and so uh, I haven't gotten all my chops back, as we say, but I'm having a lot of fun doing
Well, but even you've gotten to, besides performing on the scores,
it. Mm-hmm.
when you did Swing Vote, you also performed live. You want to talk about that?
Boy, that was a lot of fun. Swing Boat is actually one of those scores that has a really special place in my heart. I love uh, Americana music. I love Aaron Copland. I love indigenous, native, not, well, I love Native American music, but I also love American, from, let's say, turn of the century to now. And so when Swing Vote came along, it gave me a chance to write all this wonderful Americana music again, which I tend to love. I don't know why I tend to gravitate towards that, but I do. So that when we ended up at the premiere with Kevin Costner, and they asked me to play with the band. Kevin has a wonderful band. He's actually a really good singer and a good guitar player, and he has a very, very fine band. And I think, they I don't know how that happened. But somebody invited me to play with Kevin. It was very gracious of him to invite me, and we did like 4 or 5 songs at the premiere.
And you had some solos. You got some
I
solos.
had some solos. I think I kind of rocked the joint a little bit. I think at one point Kevin looked back at me because I was sort of grooving out to the whole thing, and I might have gone a little too far because he sort of looked at me at one point and
I think you asked to leave at that point.
no, I wasn't asked to leave, but I think he was a little surprised at the animation that I showed
Yeah.
on stage. I'm an old rock and roller club guy, and I think it came back that night. But anyway, thank you for bringing that up. It was really fun. Thank you, Kevin, and the guys in the band are fantastic. Thank you for letting me sit in.
Now, getting back to Predators,
Yep.
Zach Law wants to know how did you how did you got on working with Robert Rodriguez and okay, let's go
How
here.
did he get on?
How did John get on, or how did Nimrod get on? Okay, uh, John, how did that job develop? Getting the job on
Well,
Predators.
very simple. One of the joys of my life is doing, hopefully, numerous movies with filmmakers because I think by the second, third, if you're lucky, fourth, fifth time with different filmmakers, you then start to develop a shorthand. There's a comfort zone, and that's a really, really nice place to be. Like when in the case of this film, Robert and I have been working together for about 2 years or so. I think you'd have to tell me, Ray, when the first Spy Kids was, but I'm guessing about 10 years ago. So when this film, I got wind of this film, and somebody from Fox had mentioned the film to me or mentioned it to my agents. And it was sort of a very quick, fast thing. Robert called me actually came over one day. He was in LA, and he was showing me some scenes from actually another film that he's doing right now called Machete. And we started to talk about Predators, and a day or two later, I got a call and saying that Robert would you have a discussion with the director Nimrod on Paul, who I was already a big fan of because of Vacancy, and he's done a couple of other wonderful movies. So that when Robert called me, I jumped at the chance. Nimrod and I spoke, had a really nice conversation, and then that's how it happened. It was very quick. Um, Unlike some jobs where you're chasing them and you're interviewing for them, this was very quick. And from the time I was hired till we were recording on stage, was like 6 weeks. It was very quick.
Now, did you deal much with Robert after that point, or was it primarily with Nimrod and
Primarily with Nimrod. However, those two guys were fantastic. They were also a little bit, um, their time was really, really tight in terms of being able to get together with me physically. So what we did was we got together a handful of times here at my studio. I played them a bunch of initial stuff, and they gave me their notes on that, which was great. After that, I would just send them every few days. I'd send them, digi deliveries of cues, and they'd give me my notes, and it was really better. And it was sort of, somebody asked me the other day, how would you compare Iron Man 2 to that? Completely different animals. Iron Man 2 I was hired early. I was on for a year. We went through the machinations of experimentation and doing things and then going one way and then changing gears. And that was, Iron Man 2 was a great experience too because again, I worked with Favreau now, that was the third time. But then on Predators, it was just a different situation. It was like, we're jumping on the train, here we go, we'll see you in 6 weeks now. Okay. 99 minutes of very aggressive music later, and that's the result.
now that was a question that someone's asked is you were doing this stream of comedy movies and
Yep.
romantic comedies
Yep.
and recently you've had Valentine's Day
Yep.
to many others and why do you feel there's a sudden shift now that you're like an action guy you're doing action video games
Yep.
and all that it's suddenly it feels like you're doing more of these types of films as opposed to the comedy movies.
Well, thank you for asking that question. That's a very long discussion that I can have someday with your viewers if they're interested. But really you're talking. Thank you.